You've studied, you've prepared, you know exactly what to say. The moment comes, you open your mouth and your mind just goes blank. You don't remember what to say. And you know what's frustrating? It's not because you don't know the answer or you don't know what to say. It's because under pressure, your brain cannot access what you already know. And this happens everywhere in conversations, in presentations, in job interviews, and yes, very often when we're trying to speak another language. So, if this has ever happened to you, stay with me because in this video, I will explain why it happens and more importantly, how to fix it. If it's your first time here, hi, my name is Sikolo. I have been teaching languages for over 20 years. 2 decades teaching French and over 14 years teaching English. And over the years, I have noticed the same pattern again and again. I have taught thousands of students who know thousands of words and who understand all the rules completely, but completely freeze when it's time to speak. They know what to say, they just can't access that knowledge when it matters. And if you have ever frozen during a high pressure moment, during a stressful moment in your life, you have experienced the exact same problem. So, today I want to show you what is really happening in your brain and how to train it so that your knowledge turns into real performance. I'll use French as an example because that's my field, but stick with me because I'm going to show you how it applies to any skill. Let me introduce you to something called the knowing versus doing gap. Here's what it looks like. Imagine you've been studying French for 3 years and now you are in Paris. You know the sentence, Je voudrais un café, s'il vous plaît. You know it because you've been practicing it and you've practiced hundreds of times. But when the waiter looks at you and asks, Qu'est-ce que vous désirez? Suddenly, nothing. Your mind goes blank, your heart starts racing, you panic, and instead of speaking, you start pointing your finger at the menu like a tourist. The same thing happens to the job candidate who knows their resume perfectly but can't talk about their achievements in a job interview. It happens to the musician who knows every note but freezes on stage. It happens to the entrepreneur who knows business theory but freezes during negotiations. In all these cases, the knowledge is there, but the performance is missing. And the reason for that is simpler than you think. Here's the key idea: your brain stores facts and skills differently. And this explains everything. When you study, information goes into your conscious memory. This is where facts live. Things like Paris is the capital of France or water boils at 100 degrees Celsius. Conscious memory is slow. It requires effort and it requires thinking. It's like opening a filing cabinet every time you need something. But real skills live somewhere else. They live in automatic memory. This is the part of your brain that lets you ride a bike, drive a car, type on the keyboard without thinking about every movement. And here's the crucial part: under pressure, conscious memory slows down and sometimes it even shuts off, but automatic memory doesn't. Athletes call it muscle memory. Musicians talk about playing by ear, and fluent speakers seem to be able to speak without thinking too much about it. They are not smarter, they're using a different system. So the real question becomes this: how do you move from conscious knowledge to automatic performance? Let's go back to our French example. When the waiter says, Qu'est-ce que vous désirez? If you are still translating, your brain does this. I hear French. I translate into English. I think of an English response. I translate into French and then I speak. That process takes 3 to 4 seconds when in a real conversation, you have maybe what, half a second to respond? So you're not bad at French. You're just slow. When you think in French, the process changes completely. You hear French, you understand French, you respond in French. Elite athletes don't translate the games into techniques. They see and they react. They are able to do that seamlessly, it seems, because they speak in the language of their skill. So, how do you train your brain to do that? The answer is something that scientists called comprehensible input combined with active production. Don't worry, I am going to try to explain that in a much simpler way. Every day, we're going to spend 5 minutes of passive exposure and 5 minutes of active practice. Passive exposure means listening and observing. So maybe we're going to listen to a podcast while we are commuting. Maybe we're going to watch a YouTube video while we are making dinner. Maybe we're going to listen to French music while we are taking a shower. The goal is not to understand everything. The goal is to expose our brain to the real rhythm and pattern and sound of French or whatever it is that you're learning. Then comes active practice. And this is where you engage, you speak, you repeat, you write, you read out loud, you respond, you practice for just 5 minutes. When you do that, here's what's happening in your brain. Passive exposure primes your neural pathways, and active practice strengthen them. Strengthen them. Together, they build automatic responses. And my friends, that works for any skills. Now, let's talk about speed because understanding something is not enough. We have to be able to perform fast enough when it matters. Sports move fast. Business conversations move fast. And native speakers, well, they just speak real fast. So if you're relying on conscious recall, you will always be behind. The solution isn't to learn more. The solution is to train for speed. That means progressive difficulty. You start slightly uncomfortable, but gradually increase the challenge. Not too easy because you want to improve, but at the same time, not too hard because you don't want to give up. The key is to find that middle zone where progress happens. Now, I want to address one last piece because even after a whole lot of training, you might still find yourself freezing sometimes. That's not failure, that's actually biology. Under pressure, your brain senses threat. Maybe it's the fear of embarrassment. Maybe it's the fear of being judged. Your heart races, your frontal cortex, that's the part that's responsible for complex thinking. Well, that part just completely shuts down. This is why you can perform perfectly at home, but freeze when you're in front of a crowd. We fix that through exposure. Gradual, repeated exposure until your brain learns that this is not a threat. You're not in danger. Understand that no app, no video, no book can replace real practice. Each time you practice, the fear will decrease. Your automatic memory will get stronger, and your automatic skills will continue to perform even under pressure. Yes, you will make mistakes, but that's not a problem because mistakes are not the opposite of learning. Mistakes are the mechanism of learning. If you freeze under pressure, remember this, the knowledge is there. You just need to be able to access it automatically. If this video helped you understand something that you have struggled with for many years or something that you're currently struggling with, know that you are not alone. Like the video, subscribe to my channel because the next one is coming up and it's going to be quite good. And don't forget to share it to someone who needs it. Now, before we go, remember that knowledge without performance is just entertainment. So stop watching and go practice.